Hello, Oracles. How is it going tonight? What a week for Tesla. Up and down and up and basically kind of flat for the week. So, not too exciting, but exciting along the way, but not an exciting finish. So, looking at the charts, I'll give you guys a few minutes to get on here. I'll take a look and see what we got. Da 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 do do. Where are we? There we go. All right. So I was noticing that the RSI actually cooled off a little bit below 70. So I'll pop that up here for you. So yep, we can see here RSI is now down under 70 on the daily. So again, that's on the daily, and we're still at 256. So looking at this seemingly downward trend starting, it may be a consolidation. So this is something we're just going to need to wait on. But again, end of the month, end of the quarter, this is a rebalancing that's going on. So next week may be a little volatile with people buying and selling. We'll see how it goes. Again, Tesla on the run that it has been on this entire month, we could see some selling off going with that rebalancing. Again, we've been seeing the what's going on, digital? Happy Friday. Yeah, lots and lots of news this week. Andreas, hey, glad you could make it on, buddy. How's it going? So when it comes to the rebalancing, again, and I had mentioned it earlier that we may be seeing, people going from, overweight to equal weight, from buys to holds. We've seen it. Dan Ives did it. He's a big Tesla bull, and he did it. And there's some others that are doing it as well. And it's part of the reason is because it's run so much. So they have their price targets. They've gone up on their price targets, but where we are right now, it may be a little too hot for where they think it is. So they just pull back and say, you know what? Long term, if they were saying, hey, 24 months, 36 months, probably still a buy. But since their price targets only look out 12 months, and we're basically at many of their price targets right now, they now call it a hold or equal weight or whatever it is. That's the only reason why they call it what it is. Now, some of these people are in charge of funds. We've got institutions and we've got fund managers. They're coming out here saying this, which means that when they go to the rebalancing stage in their portfolios, if Tesla's now a hold, maybe they're going to trim some of it. They're going to say, we're going to hold, but we need to trim some of the position. ARK, for instance, is, hey, 10% is the most they can have. So anything over that, they trim. We may see the same things, especially if we say, hey, you know what? There are other positions that they want. Maybe they have a buy on another position like SoFi. Maybe SoFi is a buy in their portfolio. They need to buy some. So they need to get that money from somewhere. They sell some of the Tesla that has run quite a bit this month, put it into SoFi, which has fallen a bit over the last couple of days, put it into there and shift. So just a lot of different of things to look at as to why we may be moving in certain directions or selling off a little bit the last few days. So again, we'll really pay attention in the first week of the month. And of course, the first week of July is going to be the first week of the quarter. And we're going to be getting the delivery numbers for Q2 on July 2nd. So there could be a gap up or a gap down, depending on what numbers come out for deliveries. Sith Lord, explain PE. So PE is price to earnings ratio. So it's really just whatever the earnings are and whatever the multiple they put on that. So if you're looking at a PE of, let's say it's 25. So you're looking out and you're basing it on 25 years. So you see 25 times growth over the future of the stock, which is why typically tech stocks are higher because we see a much higher growth curve for them. So like Amazon is super high because there's a much higher growth curve for them. They're still going up that S curve. Tesla, on the other hand, is lower. And that's the questionable part is like, why is it so much lower than Amazon if they have so much more room to grow? That's the big question. And I think a part of it is because when you're looking at analysts out there putting out their price targets, they put a 12-month price target on it. And we've talked about it before, which is when you see 12 months on this, you think, well, all of us are looking at it 5 to 10 years out. But that's not what analysts look at. They look at 12 months. Now, when you look out 12 months, when it comes to Tesla, specifically based upon what they are currently bringing in for revenue right now, that is mostly from EVs. And the EV margin has been coming down to the low 20%. So, with that margin coming down, that PE ratio based upon the EVs alone is going to keep that margin or keep that PE ratio down. That is why we see it that way. However, many of us looking further out recognize it as an AI company, software company. We're going to have FSD, all of these other things that are going to be coming out, which would give it a PE ratio more like an Apple and Amazon. Well, Apple's not a good one, but maybe like an Nvidia. These companies who are, higher software companies, much higher profit margins, being priced that way. Tesla should be most likely priced that way when they get to that point within that 12-month period. That is when we're going to see the next parabolic jump come for the stock. When Tesla comes out and solves FSD is obviously the huge one, because that means that they have solved AI. And when that happens, that's when analysts are going to look out 12 months and go, well, dang, Tesla has now done this. Now we need to see what they're going to be bringing in for revenue from that FSD source. Once they do that and can put those true numbers into their valuation model, boom, we're going to see the stock explode. That's exactly how it's going to come out. So FSD being solved is going to be a big jump. Then once they get about a year or so of revenue coming in so that these analysts can put those numbers into their valuation models for FSD, we're going to see significant price movements upwards when we see all of that money coming in. So hopefully that explained that for you. I mean, what is a good and bad PE? Well, I mean, it's hard to say what good and bad is. It's all based upon opinion. For me, I think Tesla right now could be a PE of 45 to 50. Some people think that it should be around 100. That's really comes down to a personal opinion. Some people think that it's valued as a car company, which I don't think it is. But when you're looking out 12 months, what are they being valued at over the next 12 months? What are they going to be bringing in for revenue in 12 months? If FSD does get solved by the end of this year, they're still not bringing in revenue for it this year. They're going to recognize whatever FSD revenue is there, but it's not going to be that massive piece that we know we're going to see in the future. So maybe if it gets solved, then they're going to look at 12 months and say, okay, they've solved it. What does that mean for the future? And then there may be a lot of excitement priced into it at that point. So we may see a huge run up and then a pullback just from when reality actually settles in, just kind of like what we saw in 21 and 22 or 20 and 21, a lot of future growth priced into the stock and then pull back a little bit. So that could be it. But as far as what is good and bad, it really comes down to personal opinion as to what you feel the stock is worth. Andreas, I think this is the best stock ever. If I didn't go all in Tesla, I would be all in S&P 500. Yeah. And S&P 500, and there's nothing wrong with that. Many people are very successful in index funds, especially the S&P, because the great thing about the S&P is if a company is not doing well, they're going to get removed. It literally only has the top companies in the world, only has the top companies in it. That's it. So you're always investing in the top companies. You're going to get a nice little dividend. You're going to get growth, but it's not going to be growth like you would see from a specific company itself, because you're going to have some companies that grow slower, some companies that grow faster, and it's going to be a balance of that. Siddhartha, how's it going? Happy weekend. Absolutely. Thunderstorms here soon in Toronto. Yeah, we've got some hit and miss storms coming through this weekend as well. So it was pretty dark earlier. So if you guys lose me for whatever reason, it's probably because a storm came through and knocked the power out. But as of right now, we're pretty darn clear. Tennessee water been in a drought. Well, Andreas, Toronto and Canada have been in a massive drought, huge wildfires up there, so they deserve some as well. Andreas, are there any fires over there? I mean, we haven't heard about it. We hear about it obviously here in the U.S. because the Canadian wildfires, the smoke is coming here. But are there any going on over there? Just curious. I hope you guys are okay if there are. Sunchi, happy to report our second time picking up a Tesla went much smoother, and happy to report our Model Y performance did not have any bad panel gaps. Oh, yes, thank you. I totally forgot you had that issue. Good, good, good. Smooth pickup this go around, big improvement. Awesome. Great to see that there's some improvements going on, and it's something that obviously Tesla says they are aware of. They're not perfect. They're aware of that, and they're always constantly trying to improve. And you can never ask more than that. It's like an athlete. You don't expect them to be perfect every single time. And you don't expect yourself to be perfect every single time. Like me, I'm losing weight, I'm getting myself back into shape. I don't expect myself to be perfect. I just want to see progress. Some days are going to be better than others. Sometimes you have a bad batch of cars that go through the factory and they suck. And you say, all right, well, these sucked. Why did they suck? Let's fix it and make them better next time. Do you see this reversal will head towards 146 gap, or maybe there will be some staircase scenario to reach around 146? Currently, I think what we're going to see is um, probably like a reverse dead cat bounce. So we may see this up, pull down a little bit, run up a little bit more, pull down. So I'm curious as to if we're going to be testing that 314 level again. We very well might. We might test that 314 level before we pull back down and fill those gaps. And I do still think we are going to fill those gaps potentially down to 114, depending on how bad the economy is going to get at the end of this year. Many people keep saying it's going to happen, but everybody's like, well, I don't see it. I don't see what's going to happen. And I'll explain that in a minute. But what's going to end up happening is we may end up going up a little bit first and then get that massive pullback. And that pullback is going to happen. Like I was just talking to a couple of friends. There's a lot of companies that have been laying people off. There have been hiring freezes. There's a lot of companies that recognize interest rates are high. Well, I mean, compared to the last decade, they're high and they're still going up. The Fed is telling us they're still going up. It is much more expensive to borrow money right now. Companies having to borrow money to keep themselves going, it's going to cost them a lot more in the long run. They're doing the math and the calculations on how much they're going to have to pay those loans back. And they're going to say, all right, well, we need to cut some of our help and thin things out and really cut expenses. When you start cutting your expenses, you cut payroll. When you cut payroll, people now don't have jobs. People are going to have to get, evicted. We've seen evictions going up significantly around the country. Then with evictions going on, if people can't afford rent, we're going to see foreclosures on houses. We still have not seen that domino effect hit yet. And when that domino effect hits, it's going to hit hard. And that is what is most likely going to pull us down to that 146 level. But where we go before then, I don't know. We can run up significantly higher than we are right now before we have the rug pulled out from underneath us. So I think we may go up before we come down to fill that gap. But then again, I thought we might fill that 146 gap first before we ran up, and we bounced off of 150 and obviously bounced hard off of 150. Raymond, PEG ratio seems to be a better way to gauge than PE for growth stocks. It is. PEG is a much better way to do it. Anything under a 1 is awesome. Anything under a 1 is amazing. But PEG is a much better way to go. What is the new hardware in Model Y? I don't know if it's official out with the new hardware yet, but hardware 4 is rumored to be out in it. If it's not in the Model Y, it's definitely going to be in the Highland Model 3s. I just don't know if it's in Model Y yet. And this is another reason why I'm like, I want to get my Model Y or Model 3 or whatever I want to get. I want to get a Tesla. I do. Really just playing it wise, recognizing what we could potentially see for buying opportunities in real estate that could give me some free cash flow coming in. And even just in stocks, buying those, having great opportunities to buy those for future investments. Why would I go out and buy a Tesla that's going to be an expense when I can buy a house that's going to bring in cash flow that could actually pay for that Tesla? So that's just where I'm looking at things right now. And, in the process of being patient and waiting, when I get mine, it will most definitely have hardware 4 in it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in my thought process. Tesla should be valued at 2,000 per share per 2030. Kathy Woods. So I think she's actually higher than that for 2027. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure 2027 she thinks it's going to be 2,000. But significant jump from here. Yeah, Sunchi, have you seen Ross Gerber's video where FSD ran a stop sign and almost wrecked into cross traffic? I did see that. I did not see the full context behind it all, but I did see it. So, obviously we know Tesla's the FSD is not perfect. Things are happening, but I don't know the whole situation that was going on behind it. We know that he was in FSD, um, and he hit a stop sign and ran right through it. So I did see that. The regulators in the U.S. will allow FSD after 2030. So sad. Tim, I think that's incorrect. And here's my reasoning why. I've been seeing a lot in the media lately, and we know that the media and the government, are in collusion of some sort. Seen a lot more news coming out about accidents becoming more frequent, more traffic deaths, a lot of things going on that are kind of planting the seeds for the public approval because people are going to be afraid of change. That's just natural. People are scared to change. Thinking about having my teenage son drive scares the crap out of me. Having my own vehicle drive me is even scarier. So I've been in FSD. I'm okay with this, but there's a lot of people don't trust it, don't know, don't like it. They don't like technology at all, even in their hand with a phone, let alone technology that's going to be driving them on the road. It's a big trust issue thing. So I get it. But what's going to end up happening is they have to sway the public perception of this so that when regulators come out and have to vote on this, they can utilize it to their advantage to be like, they're going to play one side or the other because that's how they always do it. But they're going to lay the groundwork down for this now so that when we get to that point where regulation comes out, the government can come out and say, hey, look, the car driving itself is going to be much safer than humans. You want, to be safer on the road. You don't want your kids to be in accidents or your loved ones. They're going to play that emotional card when we get to that point, and they're starting to plant the seeds now. So I think we're going to see it long before 2030, I think. And don't forget, state by state, some states already have it regulated. So here in the US, state by state, some have it, some don't. So to get it nationally approved, I think it'll be 2025, 26, 27 at the latest, but I think we'll see it long before 2030. What's going on, Isaac? No fires that I could see on the maps. Had to Google it. Oh, good. Awesome. Okay. Usually starts sometime this month. Okay. Well, hopefully it stays that way and hopefully you guys get some rain soon. I think the inflation drops even more next month. I do. Coming down to 4% now. I don't know if it's going to drop as drastically. But remember, year over year, it goes off of last year's number, and last year's inflation was high. So it could definitely drop. I'm more concerned about the month over month. If we stay at a 0.1%, that'll be good. So I'm going to pay attention to the month over month, and I really want to see core come down. Core sticking at 5.3%. I'd like that to dip under 5%. That would be nice. What's going on, Katie? Good night, Andreas. Have a good one. So yeah, it's lots of good stuff this week. And then Dojo, that was a huge bomb that dropped, and I didn't even get a chance to talk about it the other day. Dojo coming online, and as Elon said, it's not going to be a competitor to Nvidia, but it's something that they can license out as well and help others with it. But that's what they need to speed up the process of AI. So once that comes on board, and they said they're starting it in July. So once that comes on board, it's going to be nuts because that's going to speed up FSD. That's going to be the game changer. Because right now there's only so much compute that they have that can take all of this data and do something with. When we had on totally lost his name. But we were talking about getting all the data coming in, and it's not so much the amount of data coming in that is important. It's the ability to process all of that data. That's the important part. Because if you get all the data, it's like having the internet at your disposal. But do you have time to go and read all of the internet? No, you don't. But if you had a computer that could read all of that internet, then you can get all of that information much faster. That is exactly what we're looking at. So it's basically looking at Dojo. It's almost like AI for AI. So they're going to be able to have this massive computer that's going to be able to get all this information and think about that information, put it into a database, figure out what it needs to be, process it all, and then get out there and make the AI that's actually functioning on the roads move even faster. Oh, glad you could make it too. That's awesome. Love having you on here. Oh man. So yeah, so I mean, again, looking at the charts, I'll pop it back up here quickly. So, we've got these gaps below us. You know, maybe we pull back and fill this gap to 240, 235 next week. But it's one of those just following the trends. Like it looks like we're starting a downward trend, but it could very well be a downward trend that goes back up. When you're looking at, the dead cat bounce trends down. So we come down, bounce up, come down, bounce up, come down. If we do the reverse on this, we're going to come down, run up, come down, run up. You know, that could very easily happen. And again, looking at the RSI, I was anticipating that cool off. We're now under 70. Maybe we cool off a little bit more next week, bring it down to that 60 range. Cool. We've cooled off. Then we can run back up again. Because you look at it on a weekly basis, we're at 65, still under 70. And a monthly, we're right in the dead center at 54. So plenty of room to run up still and go from there. Rumor that Tesla planned to have a department to handle Dojo as a commercialized web service. If it is half successful as Amazon AWS, it'll be huge revenue. Yes. And Elon said that was going to be utilized as it as well. It's going to be their own AWS service. So yeah, I mean, just thinking about the revenue sources that Tesla is working on is just, that's why like it boggles my mind where we see a PE, currently right now the PE is around 75. So it's like, if the PE is at 75, why? I don't understand. If we're looking at PEs of other companies that are much higher, but again, I think the end of this year we might see. There we go. Do you think we'll hit 300 by earnings July 19th? We might. We very well might. We might see that run up into earnings. So again, it's all going to come down to what deliveries are. And here's Karav. I hate to bring bad news, but deliveries will most likely be lackluster, to be honest, around 440K. Seems most likely. So, I was at 453, and I know I'm usually on the bullish side of things. Troy Teslak is at 443. So analyst expectations are 448, 450, somewhere around there. And if we miss expectations, that is going to bring the price down. And it strictly brings it down, not because the company is not growing, not doing well, anything like that. You take a number in your valuation model and you had valued out the price target based upon 448,000 deliveries in Q2. If they came in at 440,000 deliveries, that's 8,000 less. You take that 8,000, multiply it by our average selling price. Let's say they had 43,000 for an average selling price. You now take that number and you drop your revenue by that much. That immediately recalculates everything else in your valuation model, which is just naturally by math going to bring your price target down. Then algorithms are going to take that and sell off the stock accordingly. It's just how it works. So again, when you're looking at it long term, still does not matter because long term, we're still growing in the direction we want to grow. But in the near term, we can see that pullback in the stock price strictly because of that. Good news, the push in Europe has finally started. That's good. That's good. And again, with Elon going over to Europe, speaking with all the heads of state over there, very important. Obviously, knowing doing businesses on my own, doing a Beachbody thing, when you go out and you mingle with the people and the people who are going to be purchasing your products, when you do that, it just naturally puts an energy out in the universe, and you're going to see some positivity from it. So clearly, this is what is going on over in Europe. And then with Elon speaking to the Prime Minister of India, that is helping as well. This is happening all over the world. These are just little seeds that are getting planted that are going to grow into beautiful trees and flowers and plants later. We just need to wait. I'm literally thinking about it. You plant a seed, you're going to create a plant, like a factory. So Elon is putting those seeds in the ground for plant factories in the future. And I can definitely see them happening. It's just a matter of being patient and waiting. So right now we're just watering that plant. making sure it gets its sunlight, and we just have to wait for it to grow and be patient. What else did we have in the news this week? So India was the big one. And again, like that was, and as Elon said, it was, he never changed his mind. We just thought that they did. So maybe he just kind of took it off of his plate because he had other stuff going on. But India is going to be big. So maybe that's actually the next Asia Pacific factory that we hear about. Maybe it's not Indonesia. Maybe it's not South Korea. Maybe it is India. And maybe we just hear about South Korea and Indonesia as battery factories. And maybe they'll start with battery factories there. And then we're going to end up getting something more later. Maybe they get an energy factory. Maybe they do get an EV factory down the road after they have something else. Will Elon ever meet our world leader here, Biden? He did. So if you remember, I think it was last year, there was a forum that they had that he spoke with him. So that was done. Obviously not to the extent that he had with many of the other heads of state in the world, but it was at least in a group format. Ian, what's going on? Tesla still up 137% year to date. Heck yeah. Bitcoin catching up. Yeah, Bitcoin had a massive run today. What a year so far. Wishing you and all the Tesla fans a great weekend. I wish you a great weekend too. Thank you. Yeah, looking at all the running up, people basically doubling their money. There's going to be a lot of profit taking. And I know a lot of people who got wiped out of margin at the end of last year with Tesla are back in margin. Like whether they learn their lesson or not, are thinking, hey, I'm actually going to win this time and I'm going to do it smarter this time. And maybe they do it smarter and they end up selling out before they get margin called just to make sure that they make their profits and they don't run into the problems they had last year. That could happen again. But when you still see a lot of people in margin going into these stocks, it's dangerous. And you got to be careful as an investor. Even as an investor who is not in margin, you've got to be really careful because just as we saw last December, you start triggering that domino effect of margin calls, it gets ugly. It gets ugly real fast. And if you become, scared of that all the time and you have that fear hit you, you sell it. Even if you're not in margin, you sell out. That just causes more of that domino effect to happen. So, just be very, very cautious of that. And this is why I wanted to just reiterate to you guys, keep in the back of your mind that it is possible. I know it doesn't seem like it right now. The run we've been on is amazing. I know it does not seem like we will ever come back, but we've said the exact same thing before. It's never going to fall down below this level. It's never going to come down here. We're never going to get there. Then we did. And we went far beyond what we thought was even possible. Just make sure you keep that in your mind as a potential reality. And when you do, and you're prepared for that, that's why for me, I always keep that side, bucket of cash. So, hey, if we pull back, I'm good to go. I'm still looking out 5-10 years. Even if I didn't have the cash, doesn't matter. I'm looking out 5-10 years. We're going through some very difficult economic times worldwide. If I have that cash, now I can take better advantage of that opportunity if it pulls back to those levels. If it runs further, I'm still buying in, so I'm good. What do you think of the Tesla stock downgrades? I'd mentioned it earlier, Randall. Maybe you just jumped on now. It is strictly based upon the fact that Tesla's run so much. That's all it is. They still are bullish on the stock. Dan Ives, I know, loves Tesla as a company, but it's gone on such a big run recently that when you look out just 12 months on a stock in a company and their price target, they went up on their price targets, but they came down on their rating. So, when they go from $220 to $250 and we're already above their 12-month price target, they can't realistically say it's a buy, because why would they say it's a buy with a $250 price target when we're at 256? So they need to change that. So they put it at a hold rating and say, we're going to hold here. And we know that it fluctuates. So we'll see where it goes, because we're at our price target now, we'll hold. If Tesla, if we run up to $300, they may put it at a sell. That's really strictly it. And they've got to balance their portfolio. And again, here we are in the last 2 weeks of the quarter, which we always talk about. Last 2 weeks of the quarter, we have the rebalancing. This is when we get all of the different price target changes and all of that stuff. That's strictly all it is. You're still in margin, haven't learned your lesson. Raymond, are you really in margin? I didn't know. And I know some people are. And some people do it well. Some people are safe with it. They do little bits. They're like, you know what? I feel this is going to do well here. I go into my margin. I get in and out of margin. I'm not sure how you do it, Raymond, but I know some people do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you were dabbling in it just to make a little bit extra here and there, again, risk tolerance. It's all about risk tolerance. There's high risk, high reward. If you are a high risk type person, you're going to be in margin. You're going to be taking a lot of risks. But, there's also the equal downside that could be just as catastrophic. And it could be worse when you're in margin, because when you're not in margin, you're buying just a stock. Let's say Tesla went to zero. Cool. You lost whatever you've money invested in Tesla. That stinks. But you just lose the money that you invested. When you are in margin, if Tesla goes to zero, you not only lose the money that you have put into the stock, you now owe somebody else money as well. So you're even more upside down than you were. Richard, what is the strategy in holding the stock? At what price you start selling, as we know it can pull back tremendously? So I do that only in my IRA. So in my IRA, I have already sold, and I thought we were going to see the pullback after we hit 214. I was wrong. Well, we saw the pullback, but it then ran after 150. So I sold between 150 and 195, and I was going to buy back in at 125. Hey, we didn't pull back down. I missed out, but that's only half of my shares in my IRA. I will definitely buy back in because I still do anticipate the pullback. But what I ended up doing was I put that money into TSLY and TSLL, and I've actually made back all of that money anyway. So whatever I missed out on growth on Tesla stock itself, I made back from TSLY and TSLL. Totally happy with that. Not going to complain at all. So I really, truly didn't lose anything. I actually, if I had not done that, I would have not had that opportunity to learn about TSLY and TSLL. So it was great for me. So as far as my main portfolio, I'm still a little guy. I've only got 70 shares. I still want to keep on building that up. My goal is to have 4,444 shares, because 4 is my lucky number. So 4 fours, that's what I would like to get to. And at that point, I don't know. To me, it's going to be, does Tesla do dividends? If they end up doing dividends, why would I ever sell any shares? Unless I really needed a larger chunk of cash, then I would do that. But I'm really more in this for the cash flow. And for Tesla stock itself, I do think that eventually they will do that. And that's for generational wealth for me and for my son and my future generations. So near-term stuff, yeah. If I think it's going to pull back tremendously, I would probably sell out my TSLL, and I'll wait for that pullback. I'll take my profits there and jump back into that after it pulls back. Otherwise, for me, it's more about accumulation of shares at this point. And because of how I do it, I have a dollar cost average strategy, and I'm putting in $15 every single day. And I dropped it down recently because we're over 250. If we pull down under $200, I will increase that to 20. If we pull down under 150, I'll increase it to 25. So it's kind of my way of timing the bottom. And nobody can really time the bottom. Maybe you get lucky here and there, but because I can't time the bottom, if I strategize and say I think we're going to pull back, and I increase how much I add every single day in my dollar cost averaging, and I have cash on the side that I can dump in heavier as we pull down, then that will increase my chances of being closer to the bottom, and I can bring my cost basis down. And that is truly, for me, what I'm looking for, is just nearer towards the bottom to accumulate as many shares as possible, getting as much as I can on sale. And then when it runs back up, then I'm more profitable. And as it runs up, I still, again, I truly don't know when I'm going to sell, if I would sell. It's going to be one of those things where if we truly believe that Optimus is going to be as big as it is in 40 to 50 years' time, I'll be long gone. But if I can pass along whatever shares I have accumulated off to my future generations, that to me is more worth it than selling out right now. And I'll let them decide what they want to do in the future. How do you reckon in short-term Tesla heading back to 220 or below that? Strictly macro environment, bearded reality. I like the beards. Yeah, I just trimmed mine, but it's coming back. I'm bringing it back. So strictly macro environment related, it's going to be, we're going to see, because interest rates are still going up, there's going to be companies that still have yet to fold. The things that we need to see that the government, well, more like the Fed wants to see, is there's a lot of zombie companies out there. There's a lot of dead weight in the market that need to come out. Zombie companies are companies who aren't even bringing enough revenue in to pay off the interest on their loans. And these companies are going to have to take on bigger and bigger loans, and they won't be able to pay them back because the interest rates are so high. So this is kind of their way to squeeze that out. We still have a housing market that's super hot. So we need to force those things down. When those things start to come down, it will naturally bring down the entire market itself. So in the near term, and for me, I'm looking at 6 to 12 months out. That's when I think we're going to come back down below those levels and fill the gaps. So that's how I see it. And again, I could be entirely wrong on this, but that's what I'm envisioning going forward for the next 6 to 12 months. And probably this time next year is we would be, I would say we'd be past the bottom at this time next year and maybe starting to climb out of it. But there's going to be, I think, a lot of pain in the first half of next year. When do you see the sub 125 pullback? I think I just answered that. So probably Q1 or Q2 of next year is when we would end up seeing that. Unless something happens sooner and we get some ugly stuff. But, the Fed keeping rates as high as they are for a long period of time is going to create a lot of pain. Think about it like holding a plank. If you hold a 1 minute plank, it's not terrible. It gets painful, but, after a minute, you're like, all right, I made it. Now hold it for 5 minutes. Not many people can. How many people can hold it for 10 minutes? How about 20? The longer you try and hold that position, the more people are going to end up falling. And when you have high interest rates, the more companies are going to end up falling. Companies fall, people lose their jobs. Other companies may not fall, but they've got to cut their payroll just so they can keep on paying all their other bills to stay alive. So that is why I think we're going to see that all happening. And it's after that point where I think we're going to see that pullback. Any tips for Elon to batter the evil Zuckerberg in a cage fight? So I tweeted to Elon. I was like, hey, you should do a full contact tiddlywinks and battle it out there. Elon said he's going to use the walrus where you just lay on your opponent and they can't do anything. But, Elon has lost weight, and Zuckerberg, he does jujitsu. So we will see if that actually happens. May doesn't seem to want this to happen, but who knows? And especially with Elon, like personally, whatever, these guys are going to do whatever they want to do. But Elon already having major back problems after sumo wrestling, I don't know if he wants to get into that. Elon will bring his Tesla bot as champion. Zuck brings his VR headgear. That'd be great. Oh, man. Crypto Hillbilly. Hi, Tim. When do you think there will be a buyback? Maybe in 2024? Yeah, so timing-wise, and again, think about when would you want to buy the stock the most? When it pulls down to a very low level. So a lot of people were excited. We saw that in December and the very beginning of January. Lots of people came in to buy because prices were awesome. When you start looking at people who are speculating, I'm speculating out that I think in the next 6 to 12 months, we see a massive pullback. I am personally saving cash for that moment so I can buy significantly heavier. Now, part of my thought process behind that is even Elon himself has said that we will most likely be seeing some very difficult economic times in the next year. He's been saying this for a year and, it hasn't happened yet, but as we continue to go up on interest rates, this could happen. So if Elon is thinking that we could potentially be seeing a massive pullback in the market, then they would be anticipating that to do their buyback as well, because they're going to want to buy back it in a low price, just like we would. So 2024, probably Q1 or Q2 of 2024, unless we get the pullback later this year versus beginning of next year, I think that's when we're going to end up seeing the buyback. Yeah, May Musk spank Elon. Yeah, May will not have any of that. She does not want her boy fighting. Makes sense. Decided to go short for now. Recover some of the losses will accumulate. So I'm not a huge fan of shorting, and everybody can make their own decisions. I'm not going to scrutinize or anything on anybody else doing it. For me, my way of shorting is, again, saving the cash. I hedge it on the other side, but I do go into the SQQQ. So I've been buying a little bit more of the SQQQ just so that, if we do get this pullback and this turnaround, then I will be able to hedge myself on the other direction. Some of the positions that I have, I've been thinning out. I sold out all of my SoFi about just over $9. I started buying back in today at about 785. So for me, I'm kind of doing my little dollar cost averaging. I've sold out, trying to buy back into some things, taking my profits and moving it. That's my swing trading right there. And the other way I'm doing it as well is through dividend ETFs. Got JEPQ, JEPI, QILD, TSLY is the big one. Paying last month was 57% dividends. It's nuts. But all of those are what I'm putting it into for the free cash flow, because the way I look at it is, if we end up getting pulled back in the stock market, then I'll have the dividends coming in, being able to buy even more shares to be able to put into that ETF and just keep on snowballing it that way. So that's the way I play it on the other side of things. But if you want to short it, by all means, go ahead and have at it, because I know that's how the market is manipulated now. And there's nothing. If you're playing it to get profits, then have at it. Do it. If Elon wins a fight against Zuckerberg, will that affect Tesla stock? I don't know. Honestly, personally, if Elon says, or if they actually go ahead and do this, it's probably going to be bad for the stock. It'll be no different than Elon buying Twitter and this and that and all the negativity around it. And Elon's tweets, I think it'll be reminiscent of the negativity around Elon's tweets if he actually does this, because I've already seen enough people on Twitter bitching and moaning about it and saying Elon shouldn't do that. He's got things to focus on, blah, blah, blah. But whatever. Yeah. Any ideas and delivery numbers? Thanks. So, yeah, as Karav said before, we're looking at probably realistically 440 to 445 thousand for deliveries. I'm still at 453,000, but I'm always optimistic. I've been subduing that a bit. I am going to be that's where I'm at now. When we get the actual delivery numbers, I will be updating my price targets for everyone. I haven't done it in quite a while. I've been so busy with everything else going on in my life that I'll just do it on a quarterly basis. When we get the numbers, I'll update my price targets at that point. But I do share all of that with all of my members and patrons. So anybody who's a member and patron gets to see that immediately. And then I will do this time around a Teslanaire video. So how many shares will you need to become a Teslanaire based upon my price targets? So you guys can look forward to that. I will try to get that out that weekend. So if it comes out on the 2nd, probably the 3rd or 4th, I will have that out for you, depending on where I'm at in my vacation, because I am going hiking that weekend if the weather's good. You reckon the for 23-24 lithium mining also wise to go along with Tesla? Yeah, because they said that it should be up and running by the end of this year. So if it's up and running by the end of this year, they should be having production going into 2024. I think Elon said it's not going to take long, like a couple of years, and they should be at full production for it. So I would imagine that's going to be end of 2024 they'll be, which is perfect timing for Mexico with the compact car coming online, because they're going to need that. They're going to have such high demand for that vehicle. They're going to want to produce as fast as possible. They're going to need the materials for that. So yeah, I think timing wise, you're right. They're probably 2024, end of 2024, we're going to see the lithium almost at max. What's going on, Hanif? Stratton, do you see us retracing the 220s? Yeah. Yep, we're going to hit, I do. Not to be bearish or negative, just macro environment related. I definitely see us retracing there. Maybe not now though. We might not see that again for a while. I really want to see how next week plays out. But if next week is a little bit more on the negative side when it comes to the rebalancing of people's portfolios, maybe we pull down to fill that gap at 235. If that ends up happening by the end of the week, then we go into the weekend where we're going to get the delivery numbers. And if those delivery numbers do come in below expectations, maybe we do retrace back to 220. Looking at the charts really quick here, looking at levels. So we do have that gap to 221. So potentially, this is just playing it out. If there's the rebalancing next week and we see more selling going on, we fill the 235 gap. If we get numbers that aren't as high as expectations are for deliveries, we come down, we fill this 221 gap. And then from there, we'll probably sit and spin and kind of level off here for the next 2.5 weeks until we end up getting earnings. So that is the potential very near-term scenario that could play out. But again, with the selling off going on the last few days, maybe we end up seeing a run next week. But again, just looking at the charts, looking at the gaps, looking at the kind of um, feeling as to what's going on with deliveries, that might be, I give that about a 70% chance that we see that end up happening. But if that happens, it could very well come down to here we get earnings, and then we come up, and earnings come with good guidance, and just maybe we see good operating margins that we want to see, and maybe that 221 gap that we fill here ends up being the near term bottom, and we run up from there and push closer to 300. Cybertruck test production seems to have begun in Texas. Yeah, we've been seeing lots and lots more Cybertrucks going around on trucks, being delivered to places. So, yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see production there. But again, I think what's going to end up happening, and as far as I'd said, when they come out with pricing for the Cybertruck, I think it's going to break the internet. So I think we're going to see, probably the tri-motor, well, maybe the dual motor coming out at, $69,000. So that will qualify for the EV tax credit. And if we see that at 69,000, that's going to be awesome. That's right in line where it needs to be. It's going to be an awesome product. And once that happens, it'll be huge. However, the negative part that's going to come with this and the timing of it with the entire macro environment, if it pulls down as I think it is, we're then going to see the Cybertruck production going very slow. Elon's already told us that it's most likely going to go very slow. So you pile on top of a negative macro environment sentiment with Cybertruck expectations super high because people just don't truly listen to what Elon says. So people are like, oh, Cybertruck's here. It's going to dominate the world. And they're like, but why did they only produce 1,000 this month? Okay. And then people are going to lose their minds, and that's going to be more negative. And then we're going to see Tesla Q coming out and saying, see, we told you it wasn't going to be all that great. They're failing at the Cybertruck, and all this crap will come out. We see that negative sentiment push down. Then it'll be very much like Berlin and Austin, where, 5, 6, 7 months go by, the macro environment sentiment starts to clear. Cybertruck is starting to hit the roads. We're seeing them more prevalent. Production starts to really ramp up significantly. And then we start hearing about them on the job sites, because right now, so many people think that it's just going to be a lifestyle type vehicle in Southern California versus an actual functional utility vehicle that's going to be used on job sites. That will be the game changer when we start hearing that kind of news. Anyone hear about a Tesla passenger van at Vegas boring area? Ooh, I did not hear about that at all. Because for me personally, I'm really looking forward to that Tesla van when it comes out, or just the announcement of it. I'm excited about the Cyber van. Cybertruck test, winter testing New Zealand. I can use Cybertruck as a ski lift. Yeah. Yep. Just drive it right up the hill. I wonder if they're going to, I almost guarantee somebody's going to take it and put treads on that damn thing, and it's going to turn it into the cyber tank. Can you show some price targets on screen? If you can't show a majority of them, what is 2025? Yeah. Give me one hot second. I will pop them up for you. And again, like I said, these price targets I'm going to show you guys now are the same price targets I've had for the last quarter, but I will be updating those. Let me see, where are they? We are. I will be updating my price targets the first week of July, first weekend after we get production and delivery numbers. Actually, this is an older one. This is when I had 235. Wow, did I not save my other one? Oh, this is March 5th. All right. So I had it. I'm going to change it because I did have it at 247. I don't know what happened here. All right. Yep, let me get this up on the screen for you guys. I don't mind sharing this with you at all. Again, my members and patrons get this first because they are paying members and patrons, so I want to make sure I give them first access. But so here's my price targets. You guys can see I've got them through 2033. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah, that's so yeah, 247. But again, if you guys notice, 2025, that's when I think we're going to start seeing the macro environment start to pull out of things. So 2024 seems subdued. But again, if we get beat down to 247, could be like we are on the downswing to $110 again. So for 247 at the end of if we're at 247 at the end of this year on a downswing, we get down closer to 110 by the end of 2024. That's like a 3x in 2024 alone, based upon where the bottom would be to the end of the year. And then we almost double again right after that in 2025. That is my reasoning behind these price targets in the next 2 to 3 years as they are. And then, of course, we just keep on running from there based upon production deliveries, a little bit of FSD, energy. And for me, I don't put a lot of FSD into this. I do. I've increased it significantly, but until we get true numbers coming in as to what we can expect, I kind of kept that a little bit on the lower end. You're going to be rich. And again, none of this is financial advice. This is just my best guesstimate as to where we're going to be in the future. Um, but yeah. Alex, with all these positive catalysts, these lower gaps might not have a chance to get filled unless he fights Zuck. Yeah. We still have to remember, no matter how awesome Tesla is as a company, they are still never going to be as strong as the macro environment. We saw it last year, and we must remember that it is still possible, because if not, that is when we get the emotions involved. That's when we start asking ourselves, oh my gosh, why is the stock falling? There's so many positive catalysts. What could possibly be causing this all to happen? Why are we coming down? What's so negative about it? What's going on? I need to sell out now. That is the thought process. I'm not joking. This is literally conversations I have had with so many people over the last year. So, yeah. Yes, not financial advice. Definitely not. This is financial fun. We're going to call it financial fun. It's fun vice. That's it. We're having fun, playing around. And if I happen to be right, super duper, that was awesome. Now, again, it's not financial advice, but it is what I am doing with my portfolio. So, I practice what I preach. I don't tell people to do certain things that I'm not doing. I'm just telling you basically what I am doing and what I am basing it on. And if you seem to agree, cool. And that's why I always recommend to you guys, always, watch many, many people, many analysts, positive and negative. Go ahead and talk to bears as well, because when you talk to bears as well, you get a perspective outside of the Tesla sphere. And when you get in this echo chamber of Tesla bulls, when you're looking at long term, I will agree with them. But when you look at long term, but you are concerned about the near term, that becomes a problem. Warren Redlick, I love the guy. I think long term, he's absolutely right about a lot of things, but he's looking long term. And, that's what he's talking about, is strictly Tesla, strictly in the long term. So when you start factoring in near term movements and you're going to look at it as near term, it becomes a problem. Karav, something I've thought about is Highland and Cybertruck timing. Both seem to be coming mid to late Q3. I think it would be awesome if at the end of the Cybertruck event they announced Highland. So we still don't know the Cybertruck event is going to happen. So I'm kind of curious about that, because I do want to go to it. Whether I can make it or not, I don't know. But the whole Cybertruck delivery event is going to be big. So do they announce Highland at the Cybertruck? I don't think they want to steal the Cybertruck thunder with Highland. I personally think for Highland, they might, timing wise, I don't know. I don't know if they would announce Highland first. Maybe they announce it at Q2 delivery numbers, and then at Q2 earnings, they announce the Cybertruck event. And they say, hey, you know what? Maybe it'll be like early September. They're going to do the Cybertruck delivery event. That seems to be probably the most realistic time frame, September to October for it. So yeah, I don't know if they would do it at the same time. Raymond, what's the mountain on your screen? That mountain is Australia. Those are the Blue Mountains of Australia. I visited there back in 2001. And awesome note on that. Little factoid tidbit. The Blue Mountains area there in Australia is the exact same size as the Grand Canyon here in the US. However, as you can see in the picture, over in Australia, it is very green. There's lots of trees and things that are growing there versus the Grand Canyon, which is basically a desert. Now, when I was there, they were having wildfires, so you could see giant fires from a long distance away, from the cliff edges that we were on. But yeah, very interesting to know that they were the exact same size. Okay, potential financial suggestion. Yes, it's my PFS. Hanif, thank you. I'm going to call it my PFS from now on. My potential financial suggestion. Free PFS. Oh, dude, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. This is PFS. You guys are the best. Oh, man. Yeah, Australia was great. When we were doing the Blue Mountains, I remember they said we were going on a wine tour. And I was like, all right, cool. I don't mind wine. That's awesome. This dude takes us on a hiking tour into the middle of the woods. And we're like, where the hell are we going? I mean, we're dressed for a wine tour, not for hiking in the woods. Takes us to this like little lean-to in the middle of nowhere where the dude just busts out bottles of wine and fires up a grill and starts making us lunch. He's just cooking us steak and burgers in the middle of the woods and pouring us wine. I'm like, what is happening right now? Then we get back into this truck that he's driving us in, and he takes us to the edge of the Blue Mountains, where now we're all half in the bag, walking around this cliff edge, trying not to fall off and die. And I'm like, what? And that was the wine tour. He just gave us wine in the middle of the woods and cooked us some steak and burgers. Dude, Australia is awesome. Lang's not on tonight, but Lang, man, if you watch this later on, that is awesome. I love Australia. Free PFS sounds like another t-shirt tour. Yes. Dude, I'm gonna make that happen. I am making that. Credit to Hanif, new shirt, free PFS. And then people are gonna ask what PFS is. Oh my god. Yeah, Be a Good Human hoodie. Yes, I love my Be a Good Human shirt. Dude, wearing my Be a Good Human shirt, um, just going around the grocery store, so many comments. I went to the Yankee game wearing it. People are giving me high fives and fist bumps, loving that shirt. So Hanif, I don't know if if you've worn it out in public and had anybody say anything, but yeah, I've had a lot of people comment on that. I'm gonna buy a couple more of them. I'm gonna buy them in red and green, obviously for the channel here, so you guys can see red and green because I promised I would do that. So I'm waiting. I'm really keeping my expenses low. Again, those of you guys who are members and patrons know I put out my income, expenses, and investments every single week. I share those spreadsheets with you guys. And I was very far over expenses for the last few months, just trying to build up the channel. I was investing a lot in the channel and my business. So I've kind of squashed a bunch of that. I want to get my free cash flow back to positive. So I'm working on that. So once I get that all cleared and I get my bonus coming in next month, then I'm going to be able to invest a little bit more. So I'm going to get my shirts at that point. But yes, I will be making that PSF shirt. And I will get that in red and green. Blue Mountains and NSW. Not sure the blue one is green, just in my Tesla stock every day. Yeah, green, absolutely. Oh, Lang, there you are. Hey, bud, I am on. Oh, that's awesome. Writing emails. Yes. Yes, Lang. And Lang, I don't know, because I know you're on the whole entire other side of the country. Have you ever been to the Blue Mountains over there? Just curious. Yeah, I love your country. I've never been to your side. I was everywhere from Sydney. We went from Sydney to Melbourne, down to Tasmania, back to Melbourne, Ayers Rock, up to Cairn, saw all the Great Barrier Reef. Then we went back to Sydney and flew home. We were there for 3 weeks. It was awesome. One of my favorite trips ever. And I got to tell you, driving around Tasmania was an experience for sure. There's A, B, and C roads. That's it. Good luck. C roads, you require 4-wheel drive. But we walked the blue gum trees. That was a really good time. Love the blue gums. They had like these walkways in the tops of the trees. So awesome. Stuff like that I love, that really kind of relates me to Tesla and how they're so oriented around, doing the right thing for humanity in the future and nature and stuff. I'm a big fan. Oh, you're in Malaysia right now. Cool. Yeah, Blue Mountains are awesome. Again, I was half drunk while I was there, and my mindset was in a really good place at the time. But it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful there. Just loved it. Where's the new battery facility being built in Australia now? Is there a battery facility getting built there? Did I miss something? Maybe I did. I didn't know. I think. Oh, is it CATL that's building one there? I'm not sure where. Maybe it is CATL. Um, I know there's a lot of battery factories going up everywhere around the world right now. And again, that's one of those little fundamental pieces of like this is coming. It's happening. It's just like a lot of other things that we've seen. If you go back in time and look at Netflix coming in, Netflix came in and disrupted Blockbuster and all of that stuff. And some people are like, "Oh, it's never going to take off," and you're like, "But it is." Like you think about it, and you think about all the pieces that were getting put in place to allow that to really take over. It was already there. The signs were there, and we're seeing the same thing happening with EVs. And it's like, GM and Ford wouldn't be making the commitments they're making, North American charging standards. So, all of these different things that are going on, it takes time. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't recognize is a lot of people are so nearsighted. Even people who think they're holding a stock long term for 1 year, that's not long term. That's theoretically based upon, you know, stock market taxes here in the US that is considered a long hold, but truly that's not long. Think about how long it takes for things to get built. It even takes Tesla a year plus to build a factory. So you have to give it time, let it breathe. It's like a really fine wine. Let it breathe, let it grow, and that's when you're going to see these things. So you see all these seeds getting planted, it's just going to take time to grow. Oh, the Mega Pack project. Yeah, yeah. That was Western Australia. Lang, I don't know if that was anywhere near you because I know it was. I think it was Southwestern Australia. Just because um, there's so many brownouts and blackouts and power issues there. So I know they're doing really well with it. So Lang, you can correct us if we're wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was down near your area. Yeah. I know the mega packs were down there. That was a monster one, and they have a deal made with, and I do not know the electric company. I can't remember it, but one of the largest electric companies in Australia. They have an agreement and deal with for that. So they're working hand in hand with them. So again, energy is like a sleeper at the moment. It's coming up. It's going to take off, and it's going to take off real fast, and we're going to start to see revenue pouring in from energy. EVs are going to continue to grow. FSD getting solved, that's going to take it off even more. I mean, and then Dojo, if they have like an ASW type service, dude, so much coming long term for Tesla. Even at this 256, even though, yes, I know I said that I cut down on how much I'm adding, but I'm still adding. I think 256 is a great buy. So anybody holding longer than 5-10 years, 256, great buy. Oh, Scott, here we go. Megapack batteries have arrived, and it's Boulder.com battery site, Rockhampton, Queensland. Okay, thank you. Thank you. wine, wine, mountains, and batteries. Australia. That sounds awesome. And kangaroos and Tasmanian devils. And kangaroos are really just um, deer on steroids, which is awesome. Okay. Yep. That place called Kali or Triple X down south of Perth. Cool. Yep. And I know Perth is, that's Western. I like geography. Still learning where everything is, but I'm a big fan. Yeah. Australia's a great place. And one of my favorite pieces of Australia, and Lang, I don't know if it's changed since I was there, but like the stories we heard, we went to a little kangaroo grove and they showed us around, and there's just like kangaroos everywhere, just wild kangaroos. You go there and you see them. And tour guide was telling us that he took one group there, and this one kangaroo was just cool and chill and like letting people go up there and take pictures with it. And lots of people taking pictures. And this one woman went up there. She wanted her picture taken with it. And it was just done. It was done taking pictures, wanted to go off and do its thing. But she was like, no, I want my picture taken with you. And was like pulling the thing in. Like, this is a wild animal. And she's pulling the thing in. It rears back and claws her chest. And she ended up having to go to the hospital. And he's like, well, that was pretty stupid. She deserved it. Here in the US, we would go and find that kangaroo and we would shoot it and we would sue the park and sue the tour guide and all that crap. Not Australia. In Australia, nope, she was an idiot. She got what she deserved. Friggin' love that. Love hearing stories like that. And hopefully it's still like that there. But yeah. Oh boy. All right, folks. I'm going to be getting off in a minute. It is Friday evening. I'm going to go chill out and relax for the week. But you guys, awesome as usual. Hanif, thank you so much. Those shirts are coming. Free PSF on its way. I will get those up and running as soon as they are out. I will promote them for you guys and show you what we got. Yeah, you guys, amazing. Great week. We will see what happens next week. Again, remember, it's the last week of the quarter, so we could see some rebalancing. Maybe we run up. Maybe we fall down. We'll have to wait and see. And then after that, we're getting our numbers. So you guys have yourselves a great weekend, and we will see you all